With so many of us here in the United States preparing to celebrate Independence Day, I thought this would be the perfect time for us to just talk about exactly what independence means. Because honestly, I don't think most really understand that one. Independent is the opposite of dependent. They're antonyms. So you can't be independent and dependent. And in a social context, that means not being independent means not being dependent upon others. And we can see this with children. Children are completely dependent upon their parents. As they grow into adults, they become more and more independent until eventually they're completely independent adults. In the case of the United States, our founders, when they declared independence from the crown, they weren't just saying, hey, we're free. That was not what that was. When they declared their independence, they were declaring their ability to govern themselves and that they no longer needed the crown, the government in Great Britain, to govern them. Okay, now we automatically associate freedom with independence, and that's a big part of it. But there's another component of that, and that's personal responsibility. And you don't get it. Independence does not exist without personal responsibility. Because if we're independent, that means we're taking care of ourselves, which requires personal responsibility. Okay, now that might sound like I'm playing word games here, and in a way I am. And that's because we're not born inherently knowing what independence and freedom are. Words like that, we just don't instinctively know them. They have to be learned. We have to spend time thinking about them. As a matter of fact, as far as human nature, our nature, things we automatically know is to be dependent. Children, we're automatically dependent upon our parents when we grow up. Yeah, we have to learn to be independent, and then we have to learn our concepts of independence and freedom, which is why I would say so few people in the world are actually independent and free. And that's also, by the way, why so many people in the world are so quick to give up their independence and freedom. They want to be taken care of by the state or by the monarchy, by the dictator, or by whoever. You know, it's our natural state to want to be taken care of. It goes back to childhood. And we can see it all around us. We can see it in the United States with so many people embracing communism and socialism. We could see it in Russia when the Russians voted in Putin because they wanted a strong man in power to bring back stability after the fall of the Soviet Union. They wanted to be taken care of. Yeah. But I would also guess that the people that would willingly, voluntarily give up their independence, their freedom, well, those are people that never understood or never experienced independence and freedom to start with. They didn't know what they were voluntarily giving away in order for the state or whoever to take care of them. And this goes way back. This goes back to the Bible, Old Testament, Exodus. When the Israelites were led out of bondage in Egypt, they complained the whole time. Yeah, they had been enslaved for so long that they no longer knew what it meant to be free, to be independent. That they had lost those concepts along with their concepts of God. And truthfully, I don't think the notions of independence and freedom can exist without God. An important concept in the founding of the United States was the notion of inalienable rights. Rights granted to us by God, our Creator. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Governments can't grant us those rights. They can only take them away. And that would seem obvious that every human would be born with those rights, but it's not. And look how few people in the world have those rights. Look at our enlightened Canadian neighbors to the north. Justin Trudeau just announced in no uncertain terms that Canadians do not have the right to defend their own life. And if you don't believe me, I'll leave a link below in the description of him saying exactly that. And he was referring to with a firearm, but that applies to any weapon that you could use to defend your life with. So did Canadians need their government to give them the right to defend their own life? No. Every Canadian was born with that right, just like every person on this planet. All the Canadian government could do is take away that right, as they have. Okay, now, all of that's just my belief, just as I believe in God. But with God comes the belief in inalienable rights. And without a belief in God, well, there goes your inalienable rights. And if you want to see which countries, which people in the world have the absolute fewest rights, just look at the ones that are most removed from God. The Chinese, any of the communist nations. And in the United States, if you want to see which people, which states are taking away rights of their citizens the quickest, again, just look at the ones that are most removed from God. Now, you've got to admit that whole "we'll take care of you" sounds great. Just support the state or the dictator or the socialist, the communist, whoever. Just forfeit your God-given rights and support whoever that wants power that week, and all your wants and needs will be taken care of. And it sounds good, don't it? Unless you actually know what freedom and responsibility are. Unless you actually know what independence is. And, by the way, independence. All that is being able to go out into the world and to take care of you and yours as you see best. And then suffering the consequences of bad decisions and reaping the rewards of good decisions. That's it. That's independence. But if you know what that is, then you know that whole "we'll take care of you" thing from the state is a lie. Because the state doesn't produce anything. The state can't give you anything. It can't provide you with food to take care of your needs because the state does not produce food. Farmers produce food. All the state can do is take. And it always starts out the same. The state, you support them, you give up, forfeit your God-given rights, and you support the thieves that want power that week. And they come into power and they take from everyone else and then redistribute. And it starts off with one for me, one for you, one for me, one for you. And then it turns into 3 for me, half of one for you, 3 for me, half of one for you. And then it turns into all for me and the hell with you. Every time. Show me any authoritarian government that didn't go down that path. And as far as the communists, I guess that makes sense, the way their whole thing turns into just one big dystopian hellhole every time they come to power. For the communists, their whole worldview is you're either oppressed or an oppressor. That's it. All right. So when they take over, the first thing every communist has to decide is, am I going to be oppressed or an oppressor? I mean, that's their worldview. So in a worldview with only 2 options, you're going to have to choose to be one of the 2. And that just don't sound like a lot of fun for me. Doesn't sound like a bit of fun. Of course, I guess that's why the whole communist, dystopian, messed up dream, nightmare, it can't fully exist so long as people like myself exist. Because I'm proof their whole worldview is wrong. Because I choose not to be an oppressor or oppressed. And I choose not to give up my God-given rights, and I choose to be independent. As long as independent people exist, their worldview is automatically proven wrong. Maybe that's why the first thing the communists do when they take over is kill everybody that disagrees with them. I hope this gives all of y'all a little something to think about on Independence Day this year, and I hope all of you enjoy it in the celebration. And for myself, I'm fixing to get out here and get back to work on my garden. I got some work to do. And I know I keep saying I'm going to film some stuff, but even though I haven't filmed anything, I have been working on the garden. And that's my first blackberry. I planted some blackberry bushes, and one of them's already putting out. Let's see what we have here. It's pretty good. I was worried that it's going to have really big seeds in it because the really big blackberries usually do, but that one didn't. So I'm happy about that. All right. Tune in next week, and I had not intended on this channel turning into me just coming out to the shop and ranting every so often. That's where we're at right now. Time. There's never enough of it, and I've been working on so many other things. But anyway, as long as we keep talking about good stuff, maybe it's worth coming out here to the shop and just rambling on for a little bit. So hit subscribe and notification bell if you want to see what we're rambling on about next week, or hopefully working in the garden or whatever. I have no clue at this point. God bless, and have a good evening and a wonderful Independence Day.